Sorry, buddy.
See, whenever Hal loses, he whinges.
Really?
I
Really?
can't use my model. Look at my model. Look at my well-painted model. Peachy, look at my model.
Would you like to see my well-painted...
All right, get him out of here.
Oh, hold on, if I do that, how's that?
Very
That
good.
better?
Very good.
Only joking. Only joking now. There we go.
My one iron hand,
Oh
because
my
they never
gosh,
get
he
any
keeps
law.
doing it.
I put him on mute. There we go. So yeah. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Lorecrimes.
Hello, everyone. We have a monumentous day ahead of us. Not only is it some of the things related to the podcast, some of these not. Not only is it Piccolo Day, not only not only is the funny high elf bird boat available for pre-order now. God bless. But Andy, of all people, will be heading a podcast not only not about the Imperium, but about the Eldar, of all things. Andy, in spirit of him doing his Masuriani, and boy, was that, as we talked about, the hardest thing to come up with a named month.
Yeah, I needed help from Colin to come up with the pun, so you can thank Colin for a lot of help with that one.
Believe us, neither of us were totally happy with it, but it was the best we could come up with.
Like, mate, Syria. Anything else? Not really.
But in celebration of him now becoming an Eldar lore guy for a month, but we'll take it. He will be telling us a little bit about the Dark Eldar today.
Exciting.
And I have no doubt that he's probably mastered just about all Dark Eldar lore that there is.
I've given it a good shake. I mean, to give you an idea, I've now done almost 2 weeks of just a video a day on Drukhari. I read the trilogy. I read the Mask of Vile. I went through some other like codexes. So like, I've read a lot of stuff, and it's been interesting because there were some things I probably should have known, and then I read up and I was like, oh, like why didn't I realize this was a thing about the Drukhari? That's kind of obvious, but I just never heard of it, so it didn't really like sit in my brain box. Also, it is also an ironic day because today's Guernsey's National Holiday Liberation Day, and we're talking about the faction that is the least liberal of all of them, quite arguably, especially when it comes to enforced labor, shall we say. So that's fun. Before we start, though, do you guys like? What's your knowledge with Drukhari like? Because I know this is a weird faction of like, it's not obscure, but it's also kind of niche in a way, if that makes sense. It's a strange one.
I'm pretty comfortable in the broad strokes, and even saying that is probably more than average 40k fans, because even amongst like Xeno's factions, the Dark Eldar I've always kind of felt to me like a niche pick.
Yeah.
Like even the average person can. All right, calm down, diabetes. Even like I feel the average person, like if you put a gun to their head, they can stumble into a couple right things about the craft world Eldar, right? They're high elves in space, much as I like them. I know what you are.
I mean, I'd say my knowledge is like I've not consumed enough like Andy, and I'm gonna achieve Kim or anything like that. You know, not to that level.
Don't call it Kim. I don't care what I don't care what Kirkbride says.
I mean, maybe enough to win a quiz against you guys on it, but
crazy.
Not enough to,
all right, we haven't even started, and the ego's already shining through like that.
Yeah. The crazy part is I don't like mind it at all, but it pisses everyone else off here so much.
We're murdering you Tuesday.
I'd say it's all right, but I'm sure Andy's going to fill in a lot of gaps today. And if someone's new as well, there's probably a lot where you know a little bit about Dark Eldar or Druki, and then this is like, oh, damn, they really do be making people into furniture.
My
yeah.
knowledge extends to the amount of times I've read other characters interact with the Dark Eldar. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
But the Fabius Bile books have a little bit on them. And I've read those.
They're very fun villains of the week, you know.
They sure look cool. They're possibly the coolest looking army in Warhammer. Not gonna lie.
I will say that I agree, but that does come with the caveat. You really got to accept the edge, both metaphorically and literally, because putting together Dark Eldar models can hurt. It's a lot of spiky bits.
You'll do more damage with the model than like a hobby knife. You're like, shit.
But there is something to be said for when the people making the army are just like, what if we don't try and be anything but like just all that's left to do is embrace it? Because at a certain point, when you're designing the army of galaxy-wide slavers who torture you to live, there's no saving grace. You are Shadow the Hedgehog, and it's just embrace it.
It's a perfect army for the 2010s hot topic.
Dude, unironically,
that's me.
If Warhammer was like at its level of popularity now in 2010, every hot topic in Spencer's in the US at least would have 50 different pieces of Dark Eldar merchandise.
It could be defined by the word sandpaper. It's very. They'll have a lot of uses for sandpaper, and I'll just leave it at that. Basically, I'll ruin it with that.
Yeah, that's what the Spencer's is for, because only like half of that merchandise is safe for work. And then if you're anything like me, you're 12, you're at the mall, mom let you wander around, you go into this fun-looking nerd shop. There's a T-shirt with Batman on the wall. You're like, oh, I like Batman. I like Goku. I bet there's cool things in here. Then you walk 10 feet into the store. That is a dildo.
Something
yeah.
my ass.
Thank you, Spencer's. Very cool. This is just at a mall.
Yeah.
Although, speaking of get-ups, I do like this comment from Jake Thornton saying, Andy mastered dressing like Timu Hugh Hefner. Very nice. Thank you very much. But with that all said and done, shall we get cracking?
Yes.
Let's
blow me up.
Stream donos.
Okay.
One.
Well, do you want to read donos first?
Oh, is the guy who already said
just the pre-stream ones?
Yeah, let's go. Fugless El Bosso. Do y'all think that a Slaaneshi demon host splooge their ceilings like that one scene from Devilman Crybaby? In any case, glory to the one true Eldar Empire, the Yusuriani Empire. I don't know what a Devilman Crybaby is.
It's an anime that, despite the name, is apparently really sad. However, I can raise you, Andy, for a better comparison. Maybe did you see Scary Movie?
Yes.
You already
take my little hand; it's stronger.
Strong hand.
Poor lady glued to the ceiling.
Or the guy was like, I can do it myself. Anyway, fun film.
Weird freaking movie.
Donkey Man USA, $5. Stream late due to Hal gooning to the Mandrake on the flesh couch. Thank you, Donkey Man.
That's the Harry Potter Mandrake too in Hal's case, not the Dark Eldar one. Card Shark, thank you for the $10. Shout out to the Earthbound pick. I think there's an Alpha Legion trooper in my chicken sandwich. Should get him out of there.
I think also Card Shark was mentioning that the Earthbound guy there is like basically a man of iron, and that was Joe's like men of iron, men of gold, good stuff. Check out our Discord. We have fun stuff in there.
Oh wow!
Also, thank you.
Yeah, 11 months, man. Thank you so much.
Argentina.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
No, incorrect. Incorrect.
Argenta? In Rogue Trader.
Argenta or Argenta? One of the not Argentina. You did.
Don't cry for me, Argenta.
Argentina in Rogue Trader. Such a charming smile. Thank you, plastic bag.
And, Shane, bro, thank you for the 5. Shane, you son of a bitch. Colin, this is what happens when you all drink his Sunny D during praise. Man.
Oh
wow.
What the fuck, dog?
That's funny.
Wow.
Ain't playing Stellaris no more.
I thought I got Wow.
Amazing.
Oh, should I say before we start, we do have a Discord. So people want to join the Discord. again, lots of community stuff, people making fun of us, cool art things. Also,
there are people in the
submitting-
voice chat, so they're
Yes, they're hanging
during
out
have
right
watch
now.
parties while it's
episodes,
going on.
I hear.
You can meet the DJ Beast, the real celebrity of
legend.
Lorecast.
The beast.
There's also sections for submissions where we need your help to create some of the content / your comments. So get in there if you want to send stuff that we'll directly read, and our mental health will be affected by it.
Tom
wanna
Bombadil
get you guys
solos
involved, so it's
Bretonia.
good.
Donkey Man. Tom Bombadil solos everyone.
Jesus Christ.
There
Anyways.
is also an exceptional amount of art of me pregnant.
Yeah. More than you'd think. Yeah.
Good stuff.
I believe there's 3 so far.
Yeah.
Yes.
More than you'd
Stop
assume.
doing that.
It's the fact that it's more than one. It's crazy. Speaking of Braden
more.
Collins, though, Andy, I believe we have some lore that's going to make us feel equally awkward and disgusted.
Okay, so Drukhari. To know about what the Drukhari are about, we have to go back before the Imperium of Man, when there was this thing called the Eldari Empire, and for a really long time, it was great. They were pruning away the orcs, kind of like the equivalent of like galactic athlete's foot. Like, oh, that's annoying. Get rid of that. The Necrons are in a sleepy nap. That's good. Old ones are gone. That's a shame. But then all of a sudden,
Rightfully so.
one fateful day, after millennia of being bored and delighting in every conceivable vice there could be, whether it be something that you put up your nose, something you put in your mouth, or other places, the Eldar kind of made a god of excess called Slaanesh, known as She Who Firsts. And their empire was practically, in one moment, taken from, let's say, 100% down to 3. It's like most of its citizens are instantly destroyed by this gigantic warp creature known as Slaanesh, which consumes all of their souls, except for a few. Some of them are in craft worlds, and they go, I see what's going to happen, and they get as far away as they can from the heart of the empire. They survive just because they put so much distance between where the Eye of Terror is now, which is what created Slaanesh, to where they are. The other survivors lived in this place called the Webway. Now, the Webway is this massive labyrinthine tunnel system that also exists in the Immaterium. It's kind of like a little base of operations. It's like within the warp, protected from demons. Yeah,
it's like halfway between reality and the warp. It's like it's in between. Goes into both. I'm trying to think like the best way to put it.
It's like physical worm tunnels. I always thought of it.
It's like a tether.
It's not a bad way to put it.
Like if a worm tunnel was like a real, like you could actually, not as in like it would teleport you, but as in like an actual places like branches spreading out and meeting into other places in the galaxy for no apparent reason.
Well, it's really useful because the Webway allows you to travel all across the galaxy through like a sub-dimension. So you could be in east of the galaxy, go through the Webway, like a Super Mario warp pipe. Whoop! Oh, you're all the way in the west. Yeah,
very quick too. Like a week in the Webway walking is. I don't think they've ever narrowed down the time. Nor will they ever. Same with warp travel. But it could be like 5 minutes. Like I walked across the galaxy in the Webway. Here I am.
Yeah, and either way, the true Eldar die in that moment, and the only people that survive are the people that get far away or the people that are in the Webway. Kegarak, the laughing god, hides in the Webway while the other Pantheon are fighting Slaanesh and die in the process. And there's this one big port hub in the Webway called Komora. Really, really, really like big trade hub used for everything the Empire relies on, and it's practically untouched by the fall of the Eldar and the birth of Slaanesh. At this point, most of the species is gone, and while some escape to Maiden Worlds to become Exodites, where they go, I'm just going to like completely stave off excess and vices and just like till the land, live a life of, like basically like space Amish. Like we're going to reject all these like get rid of your television, get rid of Reddit and your Pornhub or whatever you use, and I'm gonna go get myself a hoe. Not like that. I'm gonna,
I'm on
reap
my
the land, just gonna harvest the land.
I'm on my Vinland Saga arc right now, boys. See you in 100 years.
Yeah, Thanos at the end of Infinity War, smiling as he looks at the sun. However, while the craft welders are going, we're going to get away, but we're not going to give up our psychic powers, and the Exodites are going to forego all their vices, the pleasure cults of the Eldari Empire go, no, you know what? I actually like who I am. I'm the true Eldar.
What if I doubled down?
Yeah,
Hey,
what if I doubled down?
That's really healthy, though. You guys should love who you are, even if you're scum.
No, some of you should not love who you are.
Wow.
But there is a caveat. So they go, okay, I'm not going to stop skinning people. That's too much fun. I'm not going to, abstain from all these concoctions that I, consume on and the suffering of others. I'm just going to give up my psychic powers. I'm going to basically atrophy my innate Eldar power, which is I'm really interconnected with the immaterial. Because although Komorra is still pretty much intact and there are all these sub-realms connected to it, it's still like smothered in the kind of sapping energy of Slaanesh. So the Dark Kin basically say, you know what? If we just stop the warp shenanigans, we should be okay. And we're slowly being drained, like our life force is basically being siphoned away by Slaanesh. But eventually they figure out, if we do like really cruel things, it kind of distracts Slaanesh. Slaanesh goes, ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. And just like gets continually distracted and leaves us alone. So how about we transform Komorra into the worst place imaginable? We go raiding the galaxy and just take people, like we'll take the Monkey, we'll take the orcs, we'll take any creature we can find, and we'll just
Gene Stealers.
Take them home. And instead of, I met this guy, I'm taking him home to meet my parents. I met this guy, I put a bag over his head, I took him home, and then we started making him into a lamp. Like that's what they're about. And over time, Komorra, as their base of operation, they start to fragment in kind of like the people who inherit Komorra are basically the Eldar nobility. And there's some different fiefdoms and people who are like, well, I'm in charge of this sub-realm and I'm in charge of that sub-realm. But over time, Komorra quite literally, like kind of like a space Hulk, starts like attaching itself to other domains of the webway, conglomerating it into this weird like conglomeration of spires, outcroppings, jutting buildings, kind of like, like Dark Souls 3, there's that bit where all the realities smush together and all the buildings are in weird places and you're like, what's going on? It's like that, but sharp and like onyx black. And then eventually they start to go, oh, this is actually a good way of living. I can still indulge in all the things that are really naughty. I don't have to worry about Slaanesh as long as I'm torturing everyone I see. They start to develop an economy. They start to have markets and weapon stores, and they start to have things like, I'm going to have a speedway so that we can race our vehicles to delight our audiences. I'm going to put on a carnival where I'm going to do the most disgusting things imaginable, and it will make me look younger because it quite literally revivifies my skin becomes softer. I seem to de-age and I become stronger. And so over time, the nobles work out a way of life. But there's one guy called Azdrabale Vecht. And apparently this guy, he's quite old. Not confirmed, but the Drukhari believe he was there during the fall of the Eldar. But unlike the nobility, he's just some guy. He's literally just some guy that was like the lowest rung of Eldar society. All of a sudden, Komorra, the Dark City, is a thing. He's literally like owned by another family, this noble family. And he goes, after about 4 millennia, he goes, I'm sick of this. And he starts like building his influence. He's practically the most cunning creature in the galaxy because you're living in like the heart of like, quite honestly, possibly the most dangerous place in the universe with the most disgusting things going on. You have no influence, you have no privilege, you have nothing. And slowly he starts to create this cabal, known as the Cabal of the Black Heart. And about 4 millennia after the fall of the Eldari, he basically goes, I see an opportunity where a Space Marine chapter known as the Salamanders and about 500 Astartes invade Comora. And while all the nobles are freaking out, going, that's a lot of Space Marines, and they're the nice ones. Oh, that's our antithesis. And the Imperium's starting to like say, maybe we can just like blot out Comora. Maybe just get rid of them. That'd be useful. During this time of upheaval, Asdrabale basically manages to kill all the noble houses. He first rallies all the noble houses to push the Salamanders back. And then once they've done that, he just kills them all and goes, I'm in charge now. I'm the Supreme Overlord.
I think there's there's a part where like they have the Salamander ship, don't they? Like they have it like stuck in Comora, which Vex subtly says like, oh, I've brought in this amazing haul, and then obviously gets taken over by the noble. He's like, oh, I guess you'll take it off my hands. And they go in and they realize like, oh, the Salamanders are entrenched. And so every time a noble goes in to like kill all the Space Marines, they keep getting cut down until loads of them eventually just tunnel fire, pyre blasters. It's it was a bad recipe. It was also, I think,
not only that.
I was saying, wasn't there was one other thing? I don't know if Colin or Eli remembers if this is true or not. Wasn't Vect about to be executed because he was a slave, and then the birth of Slaanesh happened?
I believe so.
I know that he was a slave, but I don't know the rest. So
I do remember reading that somewhere. I would need to double check on like where that came from, but to the best of my knowledge, he was like a knife above the heart, Indiana Jones, and then hey, what's that doing up there?
Skyrim opening scene,
and then everyone went, and he just crawls away like Solid Snake, just underneath all the like gaggle of people.
Slaanesh stole the horse from Rorikstead, and then
but basically, to give you another idea about what Vect was willing to do, so he becomes the Supreme Overlord of Comora. He says, I'm in charge now. He kills anyone who tries to oppose him, and he says, we're going to get rid of the aristocracy. We're going to have a cabal system where he who has the biggest army wins. So I have the biggest cabal, so I'm automatically in charge. Screw all of you. To give you an idea of the lengths he's going to go to, there was a Drukhari emperor known as El Uriak. And he lived within a subrealm called Shadom. He had a bigger army than Vect. So what Vect did was he captured a massive, to his perspective, alien ship. Like, I think it's something like a Grand Cruiser of the Imperium, like massive ship. And he just sails it in Shadom and detonates it. He like blows it up, which then tears the realm apart, floods it with demons, and he's like, right, problem solved. So he kills El Uriak. All the people are being eaten by demons, and then he just goes like, shut the door, shut that portal, none of that, please.
Lord Archon. A second Imperial cruiser has struck the realm.
Yeah. So like on the eve of the night where El Uriak's like, I'm gonna go take bang, and then it's all gone. His army is completely obliterated.
He killed the dragon priest, took the mask, and sealed the doors to Sovngarde. So my boy. My boy.
Ain't no way a Comora subrealm is Sovngarde. Incorrect buzzer. No.
Maybe you could call it Govensard. Govens. Anyway.
Sodom and Gomorrah. I know what the name's a reference to.
Yeah. But basically Vect goes, okay, now I'm really, really, really like I've cemented my position. Every time someone tries to kill him, they're horrifically tortured in like public displays. He makes this like moving fortress called the Chorospur, I think it is. And he has these like enormous looming statues of himself, 12 of them, that just kind of like float above the populace. And anytime he's like, awesome, I've got to let you know about something, the eyes start glowing and his voice projects and he's like, hear thee, do as I tell you or there'll be consequences. And he's basically unopposed for 6 millennia. He's doing great. He's having a great time. Anyone who tries to cause problems is dealt with. But there is a big problem that Vect really likes to take advantage of. And there are these things called disjunctions. And a disjunction is basically like a tectonic shift in the webway, which completely imperils Comora for like demonic invasion. So it's like Imagine like it's the equivalent of a breach in the Imperial Webway project caused by, I see you in the chat, Mike, caused by a guy who absolutely did everything wrong, called Magnus. Like, imagine that kind of like hole in the wall where demons start flooding through and eating all of your friends. That's
the glory hole of demons.
Okay,
Sorry,
right.
sorry, I apologize.
You had to say
I
it.
apologize.
You had to say it.
He had to do it. And over the millennia, Komora has had several disjunctions, and every one of them Vect has taken advantage of to like cement himself with more power. One of which I read about in the Drukhari trilogy books, where a trio of Archons are like, I've had enough of Vect. Let's go to Shardom, that place where the old Drukhari Emperor was, and let's like resurrect him. Because here's the thing about Drukhari, they can resurrect each other. They use these like weird arcane arts to just be like, nah, respawn. But it usually has a high cost. And so what they do is they go to an Exodite. Well, they go originally. Ilithian, the Archon, who's like the main conspirator, goes to Shardom. He speaks with like the maiden of El Uriak, who's like a ghost. She's like a demon infused wraith, and she's like, only a pure heart can revive him. Now he's been gone for 6 millennia or 10 millennia or whatever it is. And he goes, okay. So he takes he gets his alliance to go into Shardom and like take the skull of El Uriak. Then he goes to an Exodite world and steals a world singer. And then the world spirit of the Exodite maiden world goes mental because like, that's my lady. And chaos ensues. So they steal her and basically just like torture her so much in the presence of El Uriak's body that he's resurrected. Unfortunately, it happens like Belophonus, the homunculi, is like, this could take like a few weeks, a few years if we're unlucky. Happens instantly. They're like, oh, that's weird. Turns out leaving the skull of a dead Archon in a demon like drenched realm might have a bedfellow join him into Komora. And here's what causes disjunctions. If ever there's like a big psychic phenomena, or it's going to upset the balance of like Komora is like it's like imagine like a boat on the tip of like a ravine, and it's just like lurching over the edge, and it's like if you put everyone at one side and it just goes boom into the abyss. It's like that's kind of what the disjunctions do. They give like a tremor in the warp, and so they revive El Uriak. He's full of demon. He's got a demon in him, and they do manage to kill him. But then it's like, that's still like now given it's given an opportunity for Nurgle and Tzeentch to cause mayhem in Komora. And so, long story short, the conspirators are brought to justice. The disjunction is ended, but then there's also something called a great disjunction, which was caused by a lady called Ivrain. And in the 41st millennium, there was this lady. She wasn't called Ivrain then, but it doesn't matter. She was dueling this other lady who's usually very scantily clad, called Lelith Hesperax, within her crucible, which can seat 1 million viewers, which is crazy. And they're having a duel. Lelith kills Ivrain, and then the Eldar, god of the dead, goes, I'm having that, and infuses her with like his emissary powers, and it goes nuts. Like Komora, it's like sirens everywhere, like demons, 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 demons. And then it's like it's called the Great Disjunction because it completely ruins Komora. Like to this day, there are demons still prowling around quarantine parts of the city because it was such a big tear in the webway. And the problem is now in the state of 40k. You got Vect. His whole power base is built on the foundation of you will fall in line because if you annoy me, not only am I going to like give you a painful death, but then I'll also let you die, and then Slaanesh will eat you, and it'll be even worse. And you'll never get the better of me because I've been around for 6 millennia and I've never been defeated. Now this lady comes out of nowhere, is like, I'm the god of death's like best lady. And now she's like, oh, if you join me, I can actually protect your soul from Slaanesh because my best bud in Ayad, he's the god of the dead. He can just like stop you from being eaten. That's pretty good. And so a lot of Drukhari, including Lelith Hesperax, are like, oh, that's quite a good deal. But true to form, in Lilith's book, there is a conversation between them where she's like, I'm serving you, but if you ever let me down, I will kill you again because I'm only in it for myself. And it's like, that's a Drukhari right there. And so basically the Drukhari's entire part of the great cycle of Warhammer is that, or the great wheel as the Eldar call it, is they're on a continual like journey to just survive another day. There's no great plan. There's just have some space coke and survive till tomorrow. And then what you do tomorrow, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna whip someone. Oh, that'll be fun. And then what's the day after that? Oh, call someone names. That'll make me feel better. I'll look younger. What about the day after that? I'll just do it all over again. And now there's this element of they have a hopeful future, perhaps. Also worth mentioning, the Harlequins are not Drukhari, but they work a lot with them. And some of them are like working behind the scenes because they're also like, my daddy protects me from Slaanesh eating me, which is a good thing for them. And one of them, Motley, who's very prevalent in the books, is all like, I want to unite the Eldar as like a once again united species, because he's all like, all the factions have their own foibles, but they also have their own strengths. And he's like, we need the Drukhari, we need the Exodites, we need the Craft Worlds. And if Rain comes along and it's like, oh, I see what you're up to, we can all just be Inari and that'd be great. And Vecht hates this. So he's now sending as many assassins as he can to try and kill Rain, whilst also stopping demons from eating everyone in Comora, but also partaking in lots of like carnivals of pain and torment within the arenas and having games. And yeah, in a nutshell, that's the Drukhari. They are peculiar. They don't use psychic powers, and they like to turn people into flesh abominations. I guess you'd call them something like that.
It's, you know, I saw someone complaining online. You know, every 40K faction has their own overused joke, and you know, fair is fair. That the Dark Eldar definitely have the turn you into a thing that is usually not made out of people as theirs, but it's less of a joke with them. It's more of a threat.
Yeah, it seems like a tough time to be a Dark Eldar fan. Sounds like the lore has made being a Drukhari pretty much redundant because the Inari exists now.
Well, you see, what
the
if
thing
we
is,
were going?
it's tricky because go for it, Colin.
It was like the Dark Eldar involvement was early-ish, you know, in the Inari plot line. It was like, you know, it's the big Scooby-Doo chase out of Kamara. So it's like, you know, there's some interesting stuff left. Vex got to reconsolidate power, which he kind of did because he came back to life in a way that isn't the normal, like homunculus brings you back with the funny thing. So, you know, it's some to it. What's he gonna do with this? How is this, you know, how is your brain gonna respond? What are the craft worlders gonna do? What they're gonna do is all lose. Oh no, they're all gonna win a battle against a massive Slaanesh army, but then they're all going to hate each other again, and Eldrad's going to just go home. He's so sick of the Inari plotline, he's just left. Canonically, by the way.
Speaking of homunculus, though, but before we could describe what homunculus are, but should we get to some of the donos before we get to the individual units? And
I will go through the units and then some of the characters as well, and then if there's anything that I've missed, we can go through that as well. This one from Bunny Cop. Lunchtime Lorecrimes. Leading Lilith lecture and leveraging lonely law criminals live. Good timing. Finally get to sit down and watch you guys live. Good alliteration.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, that was a bit of a tongue twister there.
Sigvald took over for a minute.
Surreptitiously serving soup in whole speech. Antonio Ranza for €20. Thank you, man.
Thank you very much.
This is Colin. Would you like to read this one since it's I think it's for you, buddy?
Of course. Boy, I didn't know it was for me at first because
Twilight there.
For Cullen. Incorrect, but thank you for the €20. How much time and how good would Morathi find herself among the Dark Eldar with magic available and the fact she is the best? Mommy. It's all caps. Tell me your thoughts. Mommy. I think she'd probably get in pretty good with the Mandrakes, at least in AOS Morathi, because she's got a lot of shadow magic stuff. She is, however, a wizard in Camera, and they don't like that. They would probably try and get her killed as quick as possible. Like if you just dropped her in Camera, she'd probably die after taking out, a good amount of people with her. But
Optimus Jedi, crazy name. Thank you for the $4.99. Slaanesh cultist. I prefer to F my victims to death, then turn them into furniture. Dark Eldar, and I took that kind of personally. Thank you very much.
This is a dark themed episode. My God. Lorecrimes littlest piggy bang. Oh, so cute. $5. F Lucius. Why does nobody say this? F Lucius. F Lucius. F Lucissi. Lewisy?
It's just Lucius with a bunch of S's, brother.
Yeah.
I was trying to say
Lucius.
We don't say that because Lucius is the goat. That's why. He's the goat.
I'll mention him later on, I promise.
Main event Virgil. An OG. Thank you for that $10 from Europe. Back after a few weeks of having better stuff to do. That's crazy. What could be better? What could be better than this?
Valid.
Just caught up on the opinions VOD. I was not there for that. Hal, your take on my opinion was so bad. I'm going to sub to your channel just so I can unsub. More Primarchs. Wow.
Wow.
You kill this guy?
The piggy bank is back.
Oh.
I may have just read Galaxy in Flames. May Lucius OD in a bathroom.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Very good.
Thank you for the vibe.
That's not even like that's just a real threat. Like that's just
dark, man. That's dark.
Speaking of homunculus,
I'm not gonna say that.
Go on, Colin.
Sure. Thank you for the £5. You guys gonna talk about that Drukhari lady who talks to her mirror with the French accent? By the way, watch Sinners, good film. Attempt to character limit. I respect the grind to hit the end.
Thank you. I would like to see the movie at some point.
Seems very good, actually.
Good. Lady Malice is the clown lady, I believe. Is that her name?
I believe so. She's like Vect's jilted lover, which is interesting.
Optimus Jedi for another $5. Would you rather bang Yvrain or Lilith Hesperex? Lilith will probably suck out your soul. Brackets giggity. But Yvrain has been hollowed out by Big Bobby G. Wow.
Actually, that's not canon. That's not canon. They're just friends. They're just friends.
They're not even friends.
Yeah, they're not even friends.
Guys, on the week a new Pope drops, by the way, you're going to say this stuff?
This one's all me. Pancreas, Sicilius Clown, thank you for the $5. Colin, Chicago Pope, the sun will never set in the Holy Illinois Empire. By the mandate of the Holy See, the cheese is under the sauce.
American Pope is.
I've seen a lot of.
I couldn't believe that.
No, that was
I've seen a lot. What is it? There's like a drink that there's like it's like a Chicago pizza and like the specific brand of drink. It's like the bread of Christ and the wine of Christ.
Do you guys not have
Pope food?
You don't have ketchup on hot dogs?
Yeah, we do.
In Chicago?
There is elitism in certain places. They're like in New York. They're like, you don't put ketchup on a hot dog.
That's just
you
crazy.
Don't do it. Just mustard.
I mean, ketchup and mustard is a must. Literally, like I don't know, it's inedible without it. Imagine eating raw dog. Like God.
I think there's I wish this is still on the Pope thing. I'm a little bit lost.
I say, chat. Can you put down the new like Warhammer stats for the new Pope? Like I'm sure.
Yeah. How many wounds does he have?
Wow.
He must have fights first.
How many JD Vance visits could he survive?
But no, there's a cardinal that a priest who's like a family friend of ours knew, and he was also because new Pope was in the running for papacy as a cardinal. And I really wish he won, because then I would have tried to bother the priest to let me go talk to the Pope. Come on, you're buddies with him, right? I really want to talk to the Pope.
Yeah.
Reroll wounds of 1. Wow, that's crazy.
Just there, like talking to the Pope. He's like, "All right, young man, what do you want to say? What do you think of the new Eldar law? What? What?
Is this too insensitive to say that Pope Francis is in deep strike? Is that too insensitive?
Oh my gosh!
is that too far? Sorry.
Oh dear.
He,
He's
failed.
back
He,
into
fa-
reserve.
he failed his 4-up, so his living saint rule didn't trigger. He didn't
Oh.
come.
That's cursed. Wow.
And that is
dear.
that's
All right,
damned
speaking-
me. That's damned my soul.
So here's something that I can bring it back to the thing. Speaking of living saints, so fun fact about the Drukhari, they only really worship one of two things. They worship Cain because he's a bit of a fighty boy, but they also have these things called dark muses, which are like demigods, and they're like the equivalent of living saints for Drukhari. And so there's like a dark muse who is like the master of poisons, and there's like the dark muse of like kinky stuff. And Asdrubale Vecht, to give you an idea, orchestrated his own assassination, then invited all the Archons to his funeral, and most of them showed up. Then ordered some Harlequins to kill all of the Archons. Then, when he revived, they revived all the Archons, and the ones he knew were going to betray him were like transformed into like grotesque abominations. The ones loyal, he was like, "Be thankful, like I brought you back from like death." That's the Alpha Legion brains kind of schemes Vecht comes up with. Like, "Oh, I'm the living muse now. I orchestrated my own death. You can't kill me now." No. That's Vecht.
How many Drukhari have access to the homunculus immortality glitch?
Well, here's the thing. I'm about to go through the kind of the elites. So every cabal is run by an archon, and an archon is like the ruling class. They're the equivalent of like what used to be the nobles of the pleasure cults. They're appointed through acts alone. Like, for example, the second biggest cabal of the Flayed Skull is led by this guy who used to be a reaver in the arenas. He fought his way to the top, even had a fight with Lucius Eternal, got killed, came back, very cross about it, wants a rematch. And these guys are all massive manipulators, really good at fighting. They don't have Drukhari bodyguards because they know what Drukhari are like and they're going to get stabbed in the back. So they get like mercenary species like the Sliff, which are
Snakes.
essentially the lair. They're just lair. They're the lair species, but
And they deserve to
serve
have
as, like,
models.
bodyguards.
They deserve to have their models back.
yeah.
I hate
And
you,
they have
GW.
Lamians, they have Medusae, they have Urgals, and Archons are very powerful. They're the ones who do the raiding and everything. But to be a successful cabal, you also need alliances with the homunculi covens. And the homunculi are not beholden to anyone but themselves. But if you want to get lots of experimentations done with living subjects, you need a cabal to go and like catch them in nets. So if you want to devote your life to being like, I'm going to make this horrible thing, I have to spend all my time stitching and cutting things in half and stowing them back together and grinning. You kind of need an archon to be in service of, so that they can do the capturing and bringing you spoils. So they're kind of like retainers. Some of them will defect to other cabals. Some of them put the loyalty to their covens above that of their archon, because again, Drukhari, they're all duplicitous backstabbers, and such is their whimsy. Some of them even invited Fabius Bile to the Dark City to be like, hey, we kind of find it amusing that this Monkai is trying to do like what we do but worse. All right, mate, come on, we'll teach you how to like properly do it for a few weeks. And Fabius is like, brilliant. I get to study with the covens. Lovely. And they are also the gatekeepers of, if you want to be revived from death, they're the only ones who know how to do it.
Did he help
in
them?
the books?
Did he
Sorry?
help them make the Flesh Tower?
Yeah.
I think he helped them make like the wailing living tower of people.
I forgot about
Yeah.
that. I have to reread those.
Yes.
books.
Yeah, it's just there.
Yeah. It's
It's
just
a,
there
it's a
screaming.
work. It's a
Sorry.
work exchange. You know.
Yeah.
James, why is the building noisy? Why is
Yeah.
the building crying?
Why is the Foundation yelling at me?
the homunculus treat Fabius
Yeah,
like a
it doesn't-
kiddo.
Yeah.
They're
He's like their
evil geniuses.
they're
of
well-meaning.
the last bajillion years.
The door handles from
Hmm.
New York. I can tell by the accent.
He's like a puppy. But yeah, the
fucking open in here or something. It's terrible.
and generally speaking, if you want to be resurrected, instead of using spirit stones, there are some rituals, and roughly kind of like what happened with El Uriak, the longer you've been dead, the bigger a catalyst you need. And when I say a catalyst, I mean someone to horrendously torture so that you can infuse their suffering into your corpse and be like, respawn.
If I remember correctly too, you can get away, like, you don't need your whole corpse. Like, honestly, I think a hand
Like a
will
finger or
do.
something.
Yeah, even like
Well,
a pinky.
How did their
El
soul?
Uriak,
Where did their
there
souls
was only
stay
a
though
skull.
for that time?
They just get slurped out of the warp. So, for a little bit, they're in a bad place.
Yeah.
So are they being
Yeah,
tormented by Slaanesh until they get resurrected, or are they
I'm not sure.
negligible enough that she doesn't find them?
I think they are, and if I remember correctly, that's also part of the reason why you need more to get you out. It's
Yeah.
because like, you've been in Slaanesh, Slaanesh's gut for longer. You got to spend more energy, and also they don't like to do it if it's been too long because it'll. Pardon me. The longer you've been there, the more likely it is she's going to notice. Be like, no, give me that back.
Yeah, and again, that's like the whole thing with the disjunction. El Uriak had been dead for millennia, and they were like, we can't just use any suffering. We need to get a world singer, which is really hard to find. Like, grab that, and it has to be like a young one that's innocent, and that's why when we torture her, it's going to be delightful. Like, that's what these guys are about. Also,
there's no subtlety. There's
nothing but authenticity here.
No. Also, to have a successful cabal, you need to ally with a witch cult. Witch cults are the lady, not all ladies, but typically they're depicted as ladies who are like acrobatic duelists from the arenas of Comora. They're led by a grand or a succubus or a grand succubus, like Lilith Hesperax has the biggest witch cult. She has the cult of Strife. She's allied to Vect. So the biggest cabal has the biggest witch cult. And there's a whole thing in like her book about, oh, she's helping the Inari, but who's going to take the place of her cult? And there's like this whole thing where she's like negotiating. No, you're still going to use my cult. I'm just going to also do this on the side. So it's an interesting like political thing. They regularly have fights among their leadership to tell who's going to be in charge. So in order to be the leader of a witch cult, you have to assassinate the current one. And that's how they stay sharp, because that's what they do. But obviously they're not like as powerful as Archons. Archons are the leader class, but you can get pretty far if you're a succubus. Another interesting role are the incubus or incubi. They're weirdos.
They're cool.
So they are cool. They're basically the equivalent of an aspect warrior. And they wear, this heavy plate. They wield things called claves, which they believe are like the optimal weapon. Look at this hook at the end's brilliant. I like the weight of it. Look at this big and then you can either have like a clave or two demi-claves. They're rumored to be descended from the teachings of the first fallen Phoenix Lord of the Striking Scorpions, known as Ara. And so they have like shrines which live in like not pocket dimensions, but they have hidden shrines all throughout Comora where, for example, in the second of the trilogy, an exodite called Mor he sees the spirit of Ara on his like destroyed planet, and he walks to like this weird gateway. He finds himself in the shrine and he basically becomes an incubus. And they are all about just, we are mercenaries, we are bodyguards. You will pay us in fights so that we can hone our skills and become better warriors. They're very stoic. Not honorable per se, but they do have glimmers of decorum, like Drazar, the living sword, who's their greatest duelist, never speaks, possibly the same guy as Ara, just like there is even a thing where like Jane Zar and him fight. He kills Jane Zar the first time, then she's resurrected by Inead and she's a bit stronger. And then she kills him, and then a lady Drukhari warrior puts on his armor, and then becomes the new Drazar. So it's like, it's like a Phoenix Lord thing going on here. It looks like that might be Ara. I'm just saying. And their whole thing is just, we like fighting, and we're good at it. Pay me in battles, please.
They better give us a Karandras and Drazar fight as penance for getting rid of his model for the entire edition. He's supposed to be looking for him.
Even when we get a big update, we can't get an update.
Bruh. I'm playing World Eaters right now. You guys did all right, okay? You guys did all right. I got one model. I got one model.
Sorry, buddy.
See, whenever Hal loses, he whinges. But when
really, metal black.
Man, I don't.
I love the venom. You said really. That was great.
I can't use my model. Look at my model. Look at my well painted model. Peachy, look at my model.
Would you like to see my well painted?
All right. Get him out of here. Get it.
Hold on. If I do that, how's that?
Very
that
good.
better?
Very good.
My sake, can I still be
Only
heard?
joking. Only joking, Hal. There we go.
My one iron hand because they never get any law.
Doing it.
All right. I put him on mute. There we go. So yeah. So we also have racks. Racks are the bodyguards of the homunculi because they like to keep it in house. These are the ones that volunteer, and they look pretty disgusting. They have their hands chopped off and grafted with metal gauntlets. They're pumped with drugs, and they are very loyal. And they volunteer because they're just like, I want to be such a good guy for my master. I have no talent with scalpels or surgery, so I'll just defend him as like his best boy and capture things for him. The ones that
Like
don't volunteer.
Don't they?
Oh yeah, they have like stretched torsos with like they look kind of like corsets of iron. They have like iron helmets on, so you can't see their face, and there's just like a lot of grunting going on behind it. But there's also the grotesques, which are the ones that don't volunteer. They're just like, you're being punished. Stretch the skin, wrap it in metal. Oh, look at all these bone protrusions coming out of your back. That's funny. Hee hee hee. And they kind of do the same thing, but they are practically like drones. They don't really have sentience. They barely understand what's going on to them. They have kill commands, and it's like go, and they go from kind of shuffling after their masters to sprinting after their enemies and capturing stuff or killing enemies. And if the homunculi dies and they haven't told this thing to stop killing, you're going to have to put that thing down because it's not stopping. And again, the homunculi will probably get revived anyway, so it's not a big deal. The grotesques are expendable. You also have Cabalite Trueborn. Trueborn are weird. Their only real trait is that they are born the traditional way, because most people in Comora are made with, like petri dishes and needles. They're kind of vat born. So to be like au natural Drukhari is pretty rare because you live in Comora. Like, could you imagine being a pregnant lady in Comora? That's pretty bad. Could you imagine being a baby for like like a kid or a baby for like 18 years before you're an adult in Comora? That would suck. And so therefore they are treated as like these rare, special, like Nepo babies almost. And they are given like the best gear. They only fight with fellow Trueborn because they see themselves as better than other Comorites. And they are the elite warriors of each cabal. And they're quite up themselves. You also have Hecatrix Blood Brides, which are like the most skilled witches. They can also be different ranks like sirens. And there's like a whole hierarchy for the witches. And then you get like the mandrakes. Mandrakes are weird. Mandrakes lurk in this sub-dimension called Elindrach, which is like this shadowy demon realm thing. And the Drukhari are like, are they demons? I don't know. Some of them are like, I've heard that if a Drukhari and a demon love one another, you get a mandrake. They don't know, but they're just like, well, look at that thing. It's scary.
I can't turn into a shadow.
There's a horror novel based on one of them, isn't it? The Mandrake there's a noble imperial family that have like a secret oubliette dungeon. And the secret of like how the family were able to keep themselves in power was that they actually had a mandrake that was they were offering it kills and corpses and things, and it would kill their political enemies if they just gave it a bit more meat, sort of thing. It's
because these guys they don't just serve Drukhari, they serve the highest bidder, and they're weird because they won't just be like, I want cash money. They'll be like, I want the heart of an RBT's judge. I want a true name as payment. I want like the nasal hair of Typhus the Traveler. It's like, where am I going to get that? It's like, okay, this is a weird trade, and no one knows quite what they're up to. They teleport through shadows.
They're so cool.
They steal life energy from their enemies and can cast Bale Blasts, which are like ice. And whenever one's approaching, like frost permeates around where their shadows are like coalescing. One of them, the most successful of them, Karaduak, fought Vulcan and almost won until Vulcan was like strobe lights on his Drukhari hammer, and then it like shoots a beam of light, and he's like, and he scuttles away. And also, he likes to collect skulls. He's called the Decapitator. His whole thing is he only ever attacks the neck. Well, I'll tell you what he does. He has a whole chamber in Aelindrak with a collection of skulls, including the skull of the former Mandrake kings who were brothers, which now stare at each other, flensed of skin. And if he like takes the skin off like an orange and is like, this sucks, he'll just smash it and go for another one. And then he actually managed to fill his like chamber with enough skulls. So now Comora also has like this shadow realm permeated from his throne room, which is eating demons and other things. It's actually eating demons. What is going on with the mandrakes?
Some mystery around the skull chamber. If he gets enough skulls, he makes a portal to hell or something.
No, that's. I think that's what happened with the Inari plot line. He finally got the last skull he needed, so then it flooded into the breach of demons and just.
Okay.
Now Kamara's part of the Shadow Realm.
Should mention Dark Eldar are scared of mandrakes. That's how scary they are.
Vect is scared of mandrakes, and he employs them. But you know, it's like that whole thing of like South Park, where if you say Biggie Smalls into a mirror 3 times, it's like it's the same with the man. They're just spooky goobers who appear out of nowhere.
It's unintentionally really funny because I've read comments from people from previous editions, and I think mandrakes were so ass you would buy mandrakes and pretend they were not something other than mandrakes.
Yeah, they were really, really awful.
Yeah,
it's like, you're playing mandrakes? No, that's a witch. Don't look at it too closely.
I think mandrakes infiltrate, don't they? At the moment, that's their key skill.
Yeah, I think they've done that forever and ever.
Makes sense.
But there's still probably just a cheap screening unit that does nothing other than screen and hold the middle objective for a couple turns.
But that is better than what they apparently used to be.
Yeah, I guess.
That's the standard.
We also have Beastmasters.
Rip their models.
You know what they do.
By the way. But if you're a Dark Eldar fan right now, you're missing like half of your model line. I think that's something that should be said. You have like 10 models on GW.
Yeah. Beastmasters have beasts. What more do you want me to say? Scourges. Scourges are birds. They're kind of like birds.
Fetch me their souls, dogs.
Yeah.
Are those the ones that kind of look like they're like a mixing like a dark elf and like a harpy, kind of.
Yeah, they're really weird because they're very useful. What they tend to do is they patrol Comora for trespassers, and when they find them, they pluck them, and then they just like drop them on the spires to be impaled on. It's like that's pretty brutal. So like all the tallest like spires of Comora is just like lots of like bodies that have been impaled and be like yoink plop. They're also a weird protected class because they are messengers, and they loom on the towers of Comora, and they listen to gossip, and they transfer messages between archons. So if you target them, it's basically a death penalty. It's like you don't attack the scourges; they're too useful. In a web of manipulations and lies that is the foundation of our economy and everything that goes on with our power structure. You do not attack the burb men. Leave the burb men alone. You don't do it.
Wow. Can you imagine if you like there's a Weekend at Bernie's thing, or like a Hangover Part 4 or something, where you accidentally kill a harpy and you've got to cover it up because it's the worst thing ever. It's like, oh no, Vex found out. It's time to pack the bag, time to pack the skin suitcases and run.
Well, there is a part in one of the books where one of the archons gets a message, and he's so angry about what it says. He's like, I really want to rip the face off this scourge, but I can't because it would be a crime. And he's like, oh, but he's like,
do you need anything else from me, master?
He's like, no, piss off. I'm angry. Go away before I do something I shouldn't. And they're quite weird. And the last ones I think are of note are the pain engines.
I love them. Favorite models.
What if you had something worse than being a dreadnought or a penitent engine? The pain engine. Because unlike a dreadnought, where it kind of sucks that you're like a limbless stump, but you can at least fight for the Emperor and that brings you joy. Unlike a penitent engine, where you're kind of like a battery for a gigantic murder machine, this thing is a mobile tank that will grab you, stuff you inside it, and torture you to fuel it. And it's used as punishment. There's a cabal that makes weapons. I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head, but they are really well-regarded craftsmen. They have a particular pain engine called the Observer, I think it is, and it basically just, if you're slacking, it grabs you, stuffs you inside, and encourages the other workers not to miss their quotas. That's what they're about. They're crazy.
Wow. Is there also it's the it reminds me of like, what's it, the Kronos and the Talos, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. There's two.
Oh, yeah.
There's one that's like
I love them.
the Talos. I think the Talos is. I'd have to check in my notes.
I think to describe it, it's kind of like it's a malformed body that slightly hovers off the ground, has like a tail, like
His big
armor panels and injection parts and built into it.
So the main difference with the Kronos Parasite engine is it leeches the life energy from its subject, and then it kind of releases that into the immediate area and heals its allies in battle. So like sometimes cabals will be like, I want that. Can I borrow that for a raid? I'm doing a quick raid. Can I borrow that? And they're like, yeah, sure. And this is the idea of this like thing just going yoink, and you hear some screaming guy going, ah, and then it releases like this prune-like body of what once was, like completely drained of life. And you're like, that's horrible. No thanks. I don't want any of that, please.
Imagine
Man's
your
been
buddy
in the water too long.
gets dragged into it, and ET comes out.
Yuck.
Yeah.
And then the Talos one is the one with like basically knives, right? It's just
it's more torture device. That's more just
all
fun.
reliable.
That's for funsies.
Can't go wrong with a good old knife.
Yeah.
I say if anyone particularly for like, I know it's not much of it, but like in Horus Heresy / Great Crusade lore, we kind of only really encounter them. Funny enough, we spoke about Vulcan and Salamanders earlier, but Vulcan, when he was on his home world, the first time he like picks up his hammers and is like, time to kick gum and chew ass, and I'm all out of
it's
ass.
clobbering time.
He picks up the hammers because Drukhari are raiding his homeworld of Nocturne, and they're picking up humans for slaves. He runs out, manages to kill I think 100 of them supposedly in the legends, and there's still, isn't there? There's a webway gate that's beneath Nocturne. I think they use in the Horus Heresy later. But supposedly that was how like the Drukhari were accessing places like Nocturne, or even to the modern 40k timeline, they access
or even
valuable slave areas.
When Vulcan fights Kara Druak, he's like, I remember you. You killed my friends. Do you still remember their names? And he was like, that's when he does, like, Vulcan always has like a catchphrase or like or a statement before he does like something awesome, when he's just like, I'm gonna activate the torch on my hammer, and he goes, you never did like the light. Whack, and then like hits him with the thing, breaks his arms, and he scurries away. Like,
CSI Miami scream kicks off, yeah.
Boom. Yeah, basically. Before we get to characters, should we go through some donations?
Yes.
Oh boy, that's a horrible message I just read in a dono.
No.
Colin, would you like to take this one?
Sure. Not this one. This one's good. Nimrod the Ape. That name is also good.
Thank you.
Thank you for the 10 CA. Finally get to watch a live show and give some support. Well, thank you,
man.
What
Thank
better,
you.
What better thanks for Colin getting me to finally read Gotrek and Felix, which I finished this week. Hell yeah. And only cried for a few hours at the end. Yeah.
Oh.
Don't cry because it's over, man. Cry because it happened and it was beautiful.
Donkey Man USA. Crazy. Thank you for the $5. Calling you slime cheese goes over the sauce, you shit lord.
Wow.
Wow.
Is this
You're
about the hot
all
dog?
just no.
What's
This is
going on?
no. This is pizza. Chicago like
Oh,
the sauce can cheese can be under the sauce. It's still pizza. You animal new
Jesus
burger
under the
hate.
sauce.
Wow.
Antonio Ranza for €5.
Thank
The
you.
Skaven have called the Eldar. Wait, the Skaven have called the Eldar or the Drukhari. Colin, I
Oh.
believe this is.
That was like the end times when the Skaven accidentally called the Eldar. I don't think it was ever
Dial.
really specified. It was elves, but they sounded alien, which Eldar.
Crazy.
yeah.
Eldar.
Do you guys know the TV show Phone Jacker? Do you remember that?
No.
Oh no, it's like a
Yeah.
British show. It's like a prank call show.
Hello. Hello, I'm in the
Oh,
webway. Yeah, it's shit.
It was a super elite prank, like phone
Cheetah?
prank show back in the day.
Yeah.
Bunny Cop, thank you for the $5 and the good opinion. A hot dog should have tomato, mustard, relish, chopped onions, a pickle spear, and a small pepper, and no ketchup. So saith the new Pope. Amen.
All right, now I will
Wow.
say
No ketchup.
That
I
sounds like
will
a good hot
say-
dog.
Chicago style ketchup. You're not supposed to put or Chicago style hot dog. You're not supposed to put ketchup on. I do put on ketchup and I do remove the onions. Everything else is
Wow.
great.
And at
Is
the end of the day,
onion
Yeah.
I think it's very funny that Americans are treating their hot dogs with elitism like it's like sushi or something. We're eating pig guts put into
Well,
a
that's the thing.
tube.
The reason they say
Curious.
don't put ketchup on because it's like, hey, you'll get away from the meat. The meat's got the
Yeah.
flavor.
Eli, isn't your
Baby.
fucking country's national food fries with gravy on it?
And it's good.
That's good.
Poutine's
Okay.
poutine's great.
Can I ask
But
a question?
there's no-
Does the hot dog have like? Is it raw onions on it, or is it a cooked onion, like
It's
caramelized
both
onion?
good.
Either or, usually just raw. That's
Raw
it.
onion?
There's no poutine
Ooh.
elitism
What-
either. We don't
what-
care
what
what
do
you
you-
put on your poutine.
Why?
It's fast food.
Hell, why do you hate raw onion? It's onion.
I
Yeah,
mean,
let's be real.
should because I think when
Raw
we have hot
onion's
dogs
good.
here, like we have
I don't like
caramelized
onion, but like what?
bruh. I mean,
Moving
no.
on. RT23 donated £10. I love how gone the deep end the Deldar are. That Lucius the Eternal once visited one. She was like, "You're a cutie, innocent puppy. I'll play with you for a bit." Yeah, I'll mention
have read
Lucius
that
later
book.
on.
They're not good people.
Stealthy
Stealthy
47. Oh, wait, go ahead, Eli, sorry.
Sure. Another OG of Lorecrimes. Thank you for the $5. You changed your PFP. The Dark Eldar are cruel for forcing us to wait for GTA 6.
I
Yeah,
can't wait for
I-
that game to be so hated because it can't live up to the hype.
Yep. I
Mm.
can't
Well,
wait for it
before
to
we
never come out.
We'll probably get a new Drukhari range before we get Elder Scrolls 6. Okay.
You can bet on that political betting website. I don't remember what it's called, but you can bet on if GTA 6 will come out in 2025 or not. And I think someone put like 10 grand on it.
I think it's
fun.
already
Fun
confirmed now
fact.
it's not, so that guy's going to the bank.
Yes, sir.
The only GTA game I've played was the first one. I'm so sorry.
Huh?
Wow.
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
the horrid comment. I
Yeah.
wish Lucius a very 177013. Don't worry, I put in the missing digit for you without Josuke. That's
Thank you, Joyce.
particularly foul. Dog.
I don't know what that is. I don't know if I want to know what it is.
Don't.
I don't want to know.
Bad.
want to know.
Dr. Sirius
Dr.
for
Sirius.
$10.
Cyrus.
Cyrus. I put the I, another I in there some reason. If Drugi are so perverse in order to save themselves from Slaanesh's gluck gluck, does that mean they engage in the most perverse of art, colons like snuggling, gentle femdom, sorry.
Take your anime bullshit out of here. I
And
will bring that.
Wow.
There's nothing wrong with
Wow.
gentle hand holding and snuggling. I'll have you know.
Thank you
It's
for the
absolutely
$10.
fine.
Now, answer me this before we
Gentle.
riddle me this, Batman. Could the Drukhari just go live on a craft world and it would be fine, or is it because they were originally too close to the
Just
eye?
get a
now
soul
they
stone.
can't? So they could just stop doing this at any time.
Correct.
Yeah, they don't
That's
even need a soul
crazy.
stone. Like, if they join Inari, it's like,
See,
hey, you can just bring me back.
It does technically give them life, but they're also awful.
And but
Yeah.
regular Eldar aren't having their souls drained all the time, are they? How do they? They don't have to deal with that as much.
Well, the thing was, it's like before the Inari, it was like you get a spirit stone and we put you to rest. or homunculi gonna torture someone or a bunch of people to bring you back.
It's
Those
also,
are your
I think,
options.
like the lifestyle the craft worlders live like prevents any of that because they're so like aesthetic.
Yeah.
Oh, and
I guess that's the
the
point, yeah.
exodites, it's like your body goes into the world spirit,
Yeah.
and so then it's like a coalition of dead people, which is fun.
I thought it was the mass torture part slash taking in life force. That was to extend their life, not to.
Yeah, there
like,
is
that makes them immortal. Basically, it doesn't mean that they, without it, I assume they would live to like the same length as a normal Eldar.
They do.
There is also something called they have the first, not the Blood Angel first, another one. If they, like, for example, if an incubus doesn't kill someone for a while, they have a chance of becoming called, I think it's the what's it called? The Parched. They become one of the Parched, and then they become like, you know, like the Dark Souls 1 enemies in the asylum that just kind of wander around aimlessly. You become a hollow, like a proper one. That's what you become.
Shout out to Flame Torch Hollows, hardest enemy in the game.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Zweihander
Shark
right next to the spawn point.
For 5 Canadian buckaroos.
Thank you.
I hate it when Colin says blessed Sigma. Go on, Colin. Blessed Sigma. Go on.
I feel like I'm being shilled out for cash.
I had to change my pants. Wow, that's crazy.
Blessed Sigma.
There it is.
Also, it says also happy birthday, Colin. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Colin.
Thanks, man. It's almost 4 months since it happened, but every week I'm more than happy to hear you say it.
Yeah.
Tom Warren, thank you for the $2. The Eldar are the reason we won't get Titanfall 3. That's a crazy statement.
That's not true. They're not as evil as the company known as Electronic Arts.
Yeah.
And last one for now.
William Knight with the $2. Remember to buy your mother something, y'all.
Yeah, it's a good thing you said that, actually.
Mother's Day is different, I think, in different countries because ours is not.
Yeah.
June.
Yeah, got a while.
That's wrong and dumb.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
No.
That was the
No.
Is this how like we all just we also some of my cousins are American. They said like so my uncle who's grew up here was talking about how like it was new. He was new to celebrating like July 4th. And I said, isn't that like really weird for you? Because it's like no one else really celebrates that. So it's like
I mean, yeah, that's American Independence Day.
Yeah.
What did they say? There's a different Independence Day celebration nearly every
every 3 days from the UK.
Yeah. I mean, technically that's my one today, so it's not as bombastic.
That's your chief. That's the UK's chief export is Independence Day.
All that tea in the harbour. So yeah, I guess we'll now go through some characters. Just before I forget, he's a really minor character to start off with. There's this guy called Lord Hellion Safan. He's not been around since 5th edition, which is a shame. To bring home the point, you don't bring Psykers to Komorra. This guy went raiding. He was part of the Slashed Eye Cabal. He brought a Farseer back, and it was such a bad idea. His Cabal kicked him out and tried to ruthlessly hunt him to the point where he's now like the criminal underworld's like boss. And now he basically subsists on like, hey guys, we're gonna like back to the future style, riding our boards and cause mayhem. And that's Sapphonix. But it's just like that's how seriously they take Psykers. You don't bring Psykers to Komorra. It's a bad idea. And he still has the severed head and remains of them, and he uses them to scry the future to evade being assassinated, which is kind of cool.
Do we mention how like the Drukhari have lost their ability to use psychic powers?
Yeah.
Well, they basically have through not using it, atrophied it like a muscle. It's like they could still use it, and to be fair, some Drukhari do go mad and start going back to using psychic powers, but that's when like Vect Cabal brings in the guns.
That's when the secret police come to unperson you.
Like Gestapo.
Yes.
Yeah, you're getting chaired.
Yeah, because you'll see like an eruption of like some demons. Like, what is that? Oh god, not again. Is it Barry? Barry's been dabbling in the sauce again. What ones we got? We've got Urian Rakath is like the oldest known homunculus. He was there since the fall. This is the guy that brought Azrael Vect back from the grave and helped collaborate. He's known as the Sculptor of Torments. And this guy is so full of himself. He even criticizes Rabute Gilliman's Primaris, and he's all like, "Oh, actually, I think if I took him into my oubliette and had a chat with this Gilliman fellow, I'm sure I could do a better job." And it's like, oh, like, of all the mad scientists, you've got like Fabius, you've got Belisarius, you've got Urian, and you've got Sarek, and Urian's probably the most sadistic of the four, which is saying something.
Yeah,
because Fabius is in that. Fabius has a weapon called the Rod of Torment, and he's not the worst. What is going on? We've already mentioned Lelith Hesperax, but she's pretty cool. She's the greatest duelist to ever live in the arenas. Killed of Rain, pretty cool. She basically now serves as Rain's bodyguard. Her book is a bit, in my opinion, hit and miss. I liked some bits, I disliked others. I thought it's a very short book, and there are plodding moments. But it is interesting that, like, at one point, she basically puts a knife to Vex's throat, and she's like, "Hey, buddy, I'm going to do my own thing, and you're going to stop trying to assassinate me." And he's like, "Oh yeah, you really think killing me is going to stop me? I'll come back." And she's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, I'll humor." Like, Vex such a petty bitch. He's like, "Oh, okay, I'll humor you. Go on then. Go off and enjoy being with your Yonari friends. Hope someone doesn't kill the daughter of Shades." She's like, "Screw off." So that's Lelith. She's like, she has been. There are like sources that say she's never been wounded in battle. She has, and she prizes any slight wound that she's incurred from a worthy opponent. She doesn't take any narcotics or anything. She's like the only succubus or witch cultist who ever has abstained from any intoxicants, because in her opinion, the kill is worsened if you are like off your tits on like space dust or getting drunk. So she's like, "No, I'm abstinent with the naughty juice." So that's my thing. Also, her objective is she wants to capture Lucius the Eternal, because in her opinion, if she brings Lucius back to Comora into her crucible that seats 1 million people, cuts off all his armor, and has a one-on-one fight with him, it'll be the most legit fight ever in the arena. And that's what she wants to do. She's like, "Yeah, I want to beat him up. I want to beat up like Slaanesh's best boy inside of 1 million people. I want to absolutely thrash him without his armor and see how he likes it." I don't know how. I'm sure that would be a bad idea, because again, his whole thing is don't take pride in the kill, and this is the most gung ho way to kill him imaginable.
Now he wins those. He wins those.
Maybe she's like, "Oh, Inead will save me." It's like, okay, maybe. But that's her. She's a bit crazy. We've already mentioned Kara Durak. We've also mentioned Drazar. Sliskus, Trevelyan Sliskus is kind of fun. He's a corsair, because some Drukhari can say, "I don't want to live in the city anymore. I'm going to be a pirate." Some speculate he was trained to dance with the Harlequins, and occasionally he moonlights as them for fun. He never wears the same clothes twice. He's very much into finer things. For fun, he tried to raid Fenris, because he looked at the Space Wolves and went, those like tribesmen with the swords, with the axes and shields, they're like the ones who eventually become Space Wolves. They're pretty hardy. They look like a good challenge. I guess I'll go capture some of them. And he did that. And then he met Lucas the Trickster, cut out his heart as like a trophy, and then is the only one who outwitted the Trickster. But for that, he also got horribly burned by being spat on in the face by Lucas, who has the acid spit. And so now in both Space Wolf and Drukhari circles, people are like, "Oh, the Jackal Wolf and the Serpent, that's a great fight." "Oh, good fight." And he's also the reason that Lucas now has a ticking time bomb in his chest, because shenanigans. So Sliskus is kind of fun. Are there any other characters I could mention? Moore's kind of cool. He's an incubus. He was an exodite. He goes back to correct the World Singer from the books, because he's the one who caused the disjunction. He gets rid of the disjunction by attacking the World Spirit, winning. Motley tricks a warlock who was very arrogant. It's like, "I want to bring him to justice," which then use him with like, he merges the incubus with the World Spirit, making this like terrifying creature, and then he like atomizes the warlock who's being manipulated by Sinch, and he saves the day. You're like, oh, a good Drukhari. I don't know about good, but probably the goodest one we've had. He's got honor, I suppose. That's good.
Relatively, you know.
Relatively, yeah. And I think that's more or less all of them, to be honest. There's not that many.
Did I completely not hear you say Drazar? Because it's going to be funny if that did happen.
We did mention Drazar, so I can go over him, but he's just like
he kills custodies.
I know he was mentioned earlier, but he's the character.
He did kill 3 custodies in a fight. Killed 3 custodies at once.
Easy.
He's like, lol.
Phoenix Lords are Primarch tier, but they'll never fight.
Nope.
He also slaughtered an entire hive city on his own for fun.
He the goat.
Like Drazar's mental, but and he doesn't say anything, so it's like he's really good at fighting, isn't he? Oh, that's Drazar. He's known as the living sword.
And used to be a praying mantis.
He's also like up there for probably most quote unquote honorable Drukhari, because he'll show like the slightest sign of respect towards like another incubi he respects. That granted is usually like a thumbs up, and then it's back to business. It's
Well, when Moore goes back to his shrine to answer for his crimes, the hierarchs ignore him, and he kills a guy in a duel, and he puts his head on his trophy rack. Then he's ambushed by 4 other guys, and him and Motley kill them. Then there's a duel with Drazar, and Drazar kicks him up like, oh, not a problem, not even a scratch on his armor. It's like strength versus speed. And then when he's about to kill him, he stops, and he just kind of gives us a quick nod, and then he leaves. It's like that's Drazar. Yeah, he has his own motives.
And and he only really just kind of cares about killing stuff, which by Dark Eldar standards, goddamn near a saint.
Oh, he even one of his most early recorded deeds was he went to one of the Incubus shrines, waltzed in, killed the hierarch, and instead of like taking charge of the shrine, just left. It's like nodded at the corpse and then left. Like, yeah, that's Drazar. He does whatever he likes, and no one knows what he's about. So never been seen to eat or sleep or drink. He's just there. He appears occasionally.
He's not even technically like the remember, like he's not even like the head of the incubi because he never took the position. Yeah, they just can't get rid of him.
Yeah, he's just there all the time, and he's scary. And they're like, he's like, they're all like, I want to fight alongside him because I want to see what he's doing because he's really skilled. But they're also like, he's such a weirdo. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't eat or sleep or drink. And he never takes his helmet off. What's up with that guy? Ugh. Just to the point where some of them are like, oh, he's just full of like fragments of bone. He's not even a person. He's just like a spirit in some armor, maybe.
Oh, so didn't he get killed like briefly? I think by Jane Czar. And
Jane Czar killed him,
and then someone put on his armor, and then
he's a Phoenix.
And then all of a sudden, nods, walks
he's just
away.
He's 100% him.
Yeah.
100p.
So
there is a
that's pretty much all the characters they have.
For like a more recent, like kind of fun Drukhari lore point, there was something in the Vaults of Terror series, which is like a kind of like Inquisitor Custodes style series that focuses on things related more closely towards terror. And there's a plot in these books where essentially the Golden Throne is kind of clunking along and it's going to fail in the next few decades if they don't get some repairs to it. And obviously, for just briefly for the people, like the Golden Throne is where the Emperor is obviously residing, his corpse is on there. It's made from technologies of like many different races, like ancient technology to like, human golden age stuff. And the plot in this book, very briefly, is like the Imperium / I think it's the Inquisition. They make a kind of semi-alliance-ish with the Drukhari because they need their help in repairing the Golden Throne, or at least parts of it, which is crazy that they were allowed that close. But I think it was the Mechanicus make some, because it's beyond what the Mechanicus can do, and obviously the Imperium, the Golden Throne failing means the Emperor dies, and it means the Astronomicon goes out, and that's bad for everybody involved. The Drukhari, being who they are, they've had problems since the resurrection of Yvraine. Again, like as Andy was saying, basically demons keep invading. I don't know what you called it earlier, Andy, like a something event. It was like a
disjunction.
This one's pretty bad to the point in which, like, I can't remember how they sealed it off, but I think they had like blanks or something in Commorragh that helped seal off certain demon wounded parts, and now that's just completely gone, thanks to your brain. So Vect, basically, the subplot is that they wish to make their own version of the Golden Throne. They're making like a Dark Throne, and they basically are trying to scrape off bits of genetic material to make like a copy of the Emperor of Man, like a cloned Emperor of Mankind. That they're like a bulging, massive one, which has like the psychic power to operate this fake / copy Golden Throne, so that they can basically seal off parts of Commorragh and, you know, basically have their own version of, like, you know, sort of an Astronomicon. It's like you know how the Emperor keeps demons away from, you know, the webway below Terra. Same thing. It didn't
holding
go to
that
plan.
wound closed.
It didn't go to plan necessarily, but like, let's just say components of like this Dark Throne is still somewhat. I mean, I don't want to spoil too much. We may go into it like one day because it's a good Volterra is a good series of books. But yeah, like so the Drukhari again, like they accept the deal, but
yeah,
they obviously did their own. They were offered different payment, but they're like, maybe we can take a payment of our own. But they're kind of like, it does show you like they can make deals with races. I think even what we're seeing for the visual watchers here, though, like there's would anyone here like to describe when the Tau first met the Drukhari? Because I think that's an interesting
sad days.
Yeah, Colin, would you like to describe
cultural exchange?
Yeah. So initially, you know, this was, and I believe this lore was written when the Tau were very much still like outright naive, like good guys, as opposed to still the good guys compared to everyone else, but not good guys.
What ho? Hello, fellow traveler.
Yeah, you know, they found the Dark Eldar, and despite sometimes you can very much judge a book by its cover, they were like, well, you know, cultural differences. Let's be friends. And the Dark Eldar, for their part, went, oh, this is going to be fun.
To be fair, they needed help fighting the Tyranids.
They did.
That's why that's one of the key reasons they outlined.
Yeah. I did kind of forget about that off rip. That's my bad. It was also, they did. There was, Tyranids are a big problem. It was as much also like, hey, you're not trying to eat me. Give me a hand, will you? So they did. And then the Tau, to stop being nice, then proceeded to try and be friendly nice anyways with the spiky psychos. So the Dark Eldar exchanged, hey, let's do a cultural exchange. We'll take some of your guys. We'll bring them back to Commorragh. You can learn all about our culture, and it's what you're all about, right? You want to learn about the galaxy, yeah? The Tau jumped on it. Watercast is having a field day.
Damn it, Nerevar, don't go into the Goon Cave.
Yeah, it's like 23 or 27. I feel like it's like that number, however many Tau go to Commorragh. And for a while, you know, don't hear back, but hey, it's a big galaxy. Could just be taking a while. Eventually, I believe the Tau, there's another fight with the Tyranids. Dark Eldar, they're so gratefully coming to help them again. And they deploy some Racks, some of their little horde little creatures they have, whereupon the Tau notice that
one's blue.
Yeah, that looks an awful lot like one of the guys we sent on over with you. So the Tau opened fire on the Dark Eldar when they realized that's horrific. Like, you are monsters.
You turned Shazo Gary into a bloody walking bulging tank.
What first happened, though, I think the Dark Eldar eventually got more, and then the Dark Eldar asked them for an ethereal, and then the Tau got.
Oh, it's been a while.
Bad touch. Bad touch.
It has been a while since I read the lore. I admit on that one. It's a little fuzzy, but
this is like 3rd edition Tau lore. It's been a while.
So then, what happens is, the Dark Eldar and the Tau, the Tau open fire. The Dark Eldar just piss off, and when the Tau go back to the planet they were staging off of, no one's on it. Well, the Tau army was away. The Dark Eldar came out to play and kidnapped the planet.
And then they just received a small transmission of Bob Ross as a Drukhari going, I did a little sneaky on you. And then it's like,
Yeah,
oh no.
I mean, the planet was still there. Not to say they can't kidnap planets. They have 2 stolen suns giving Kamara light. But no, they wanted the Tau to see what they did. And what they did was kidnap everyone they left.
Yeah.
Speaking of Tau,
we should certainly mention as well, like due to the fact like Kamara is basically the only city, like proper Eldar city that survived the fall. They kind of have like a massive storehouse of what is ancient Eldari technology from from the height of their civilization. The problem is, though, if I remember correctly, Colin, they don't really have the powers and maybe don't have all the knowledge and how to use it all. There's like there's a small story about how I think some of the craft worlds did ask for a device.
Iandin, a device called the Fireheart that. It's a terraforming device that is a long-term terraforming device because it starts by basically causing volcanic eruptions from the entire planet's mantle to go crazy so that, volcanic ash seeps. It's very good for soil. And then over time, life will form. But in the short term, it's great for killing whatever's on that planet.
I think
there's 2 things I want to mention about that point as well. It's like, one, the artifacts might need warp manipulate. So like, hey, do you want to use this?
That's the big thing.
Do you want to ring the dinner bell for the demon? No. And then the other thing is, I remember reading that Vect and Rakarth, before his assassination, they actually made a stockpile of loot and they hid it in Kamora. So if ever they need an escape plan, they'll just be like, look at the shiny stuff, and then they'll evacuate while all the Drukhari are fighting over each other to get the stuff in this big stockpile. Because when you're Vex, you own everything anyway. It's like, oh, what's the most important thing? Me.
Yeah.
What makes
it?
Okay.
So there is also the third point, which is the Dark Eldar just don't want you to have it because fuck you. Like they stole a panacea. Could have cured everything, and the Dark Eldar went, well, we don't need it. We can do that, but why would we let the Imperium have that? Fuck those guys.
Yeah, they literally they literally get to like a verdant world, capture all the people, and nuke the planet just to deny the Tyranids any biomass. It'd be like, ha, we got here first.
With their technology as well, they have. I mean, like as much as we said, like they helped the Crawford Eldar and the Iandin in that scenario, they actually have access to tech that means, I think in that scenario, that it required Farseus to sacrifice himself, if I remember correctly, Colin. But they actually had access to technology that didn't require that. They just don't hand it out. Again, they don't have access to the fact like they have, like literal world-ending stuff, like pretty much everywhere, but a lot of them, or again, like can't really use it because of the lack of psychic powers. But doesn't mean they're going to hand out to anybody who does have psychic powers because if someone does have psychic powers, it means they can use it against you.
They also they don't want to just blow up the world because then where will they get the slaves?
And generally speaking, the only people that can bring them to task are the Harlequins, and the Harlequins work with the Drukhari a lot because they're like, hey, we work with any Eldar if it's in the Eldar's best interest. But there's in the short story, The Mask of Vile, Motley and his mates, they find these Drukhari who have pillaged the craft world and taken all their spirit stones and Wraithbone. And they're like, that's not in the best interest of the Eldar. Which of these 3 are the culprit? And they basically go through this. We're gonna do a performance of the fall of the Eldar, and we'll all play a part. And they use that to they drive one of the Drukhari to feel unconditional love for the first time, and he goes mental because he's like, "This is amazing!" And then he sees the fall of the Eldar, and he's like overtaken by Cain. He's like, oh, "I'm gonna kill everyone." It's like, it wasn't him, but that was amusing. And then Motley takes the Death Jester who's helping Motley kills the guy responsible, holds a spirit stone so his soul goes into it, and then Motley takes it and swallows it, and it's like. And the Death Jester's like, ugh. But it's like their way of staving off like Slaanesh. They say, oh, Kegarak has a deal where he might snatch them from the embrace of Slaanesh. And it's like, if you have a spirit stone in your body, that's like a backup. So if you die while Slaanesh is busy taking that one, Kegarak's like, come here, mate, come on. Oh, we're getting you away. But even the Death Jester is horrified by just Motley swallowing the Spirit Stone and then grinning madly. Like, even the Drukhari are like not as bad as you might imagine could be in comparison to the Harlequins, because they can be kind of scary too. But they're also like the only, like, they're the biggest, like, the Harlequins live in the webway, but the Drukhari own most of it. And even the craft welders can't use the webway as much as the Drukhari, so they have a monopoly on interstellar webway travel. And so that's also an element of how they keep their power.
Nice.
I think some of the webway stuff is also like the Harlequins. The Dark Eldar know to just kind of let the Harlequins through when they want. Yeah, because it's like, we don't want to piss off Slaanesh because she's the goddess who wants our souls. The same kind of applies to the clown. He might be a clown, still a god.
They respect them.
The only left god of the Eldar. Yeah, and to be fair, the Harlequins work a lot with the Drukhari and the craft welders, but like they're a useful, like, again, the whole thing that drives the Drukhari is self-interest. They'll make whatever alliances they have to if it means they get to live. So Harlequins are an easy ally in that regard.
I was going to ask, what's the Drukhari unit that they only become one if they destroy a Spirit Stone?
That's the Incubi.
Just the Incubi. They can only become.
Yeah.
It's like
they have to go kill an Aspect Warrior.
Yeah, they have to kill an Aspect Warrior and crush his Spirit Stone to become a true Incubi.
Damn, really,
just mean.
Believe it or not, still better relations than the high-end Dark Elves have.
I think that I can't think of any. I did have one last tidbit if anyone wanted to, if that was okay to finish on. I had I saw this story slightly before, but it's the one with it's a Drukhari who meets the Kakaradons, and it's the one where the Kakaradons capture a Drukhari and they place him in a cell, and it's just like a 4-wall like blank cell, and they chuck him in there, and he's like raving like, I'm gonna eat your guts, I'm gonna turn you into furniture. He's like raving at them. They lock him away for a week. And then after a week, he's extremely bored. So eventually, like they open the door again. He's like again start threatening them. They just look in, shut the door again. They don't like just open the little mouth, shut it again. Happens again, even longer. He's left alone to his own devices. This time, he's so incredibly bored, and like it's torturous to him not to be able to like inflict pain or insult or injury. He's been throwing insults, nothing's working, can't hurt them. This time he just tries to play nice. So this time they open the shutter and he's like standing to attention. He's like, I want to have a conversation, just something to indulge myself in. Same thing again. They close the shutter. And this is how like they eventually, after they do this again, they wait another few more weeks. And eventually when they open it up, he's begging to talk to someone because he's been so alone. And so I've been unable to like insult people, hurt people. He's desperate for any interaction, just to show off that he's willing to spill any secrets, and they're like, "Cool." So, that's how they torture Drukhari, is not to interact with them.
I think.
Guys, are good.
I think there was also in a story where. So I don't mean like exploded like explosion, but you know those like medical diagrams where someone's like everything's been separated out, like the skin's away, then the muscle, like it's like showcasing. And all the organs are moved to the side, like kind of hanging in the air. I think they did that to someone. Like I'd have to double check where I read that, but they did that. Like they medically exploded them, or like your lungs are over here and your heart's here and your skin's over there. Except the dude was still alive.
Even
aware of it.
Even like the really old homunculi, he puts on these carnivals of like the most disgusting stuff. And all the Archons are like so desperate to go see it because it's like if they're kind of having trouble regenerating, they go to this, they'll look 100 years younger, and they're like, "What do you want?" He's like, "I want a pound of your skin," and they're like, "Here you go." They're like desperate to go to these carnivals because they are just so good, and they're great fun.
And I think the 9th edition Codex mentions sometimes if you walk around Kamara long enough, you can find headless guardsmen who are still aware and in agony, just walking around. They're there's a very good reason that like every like lore blurb about them ends with something on the lines of, if you're about to be captured by the Dark Eldar, just kill yourself.
And even then they might bring you back.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole thing where there's in the Drukhari books, the conspirators are talking about some stuff during an arena showing, and what the Drukhari do is they have some humans that have been captured. They turn one against them who's like bringing them food and water in their cell, and goes, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to stage their escape so they think they're getting away. And then the lady lets them out and they run and they're getting weapons and they kill the guards because the guards are expendable. And then they find a portal and they're like, we're going to escape. And the portal leads them directly into the middle of the arena. And then all the Drukhari point and laugh and goes, ha ha ha, they thought they were going to get away. And then they die. And it's like, that's how much of a dick the Drukhari are. And it's funny.
Hey, but there's
for them at least.
Mr. Mike wanted me to talk about Aun Sheet.
Oh yeah, you say something about
the Tau Ethereal supposedly escaped Kamara. There's no lore about it, but he was there and then he was somewhere else in the lore later. So apparently he escaped. But Aun Sheet was captured by the Dark Eldar, and also he fought multiple Dark Eldar and beasts all at one time and was beating them until he got poisoned. So he's literally a goat. He won it all. He won a bunch of his fights in Kamara and became a celebrity throughout the whole city. He was the dancing blue man or something like that. He the goat.
Oh, yeah.
Also, the squad of the Marines errant got
the
captured.
fighting blue man.
A few of them escaped from Comora's from the entirety of Comora. And Cale Vidius, who was a captain, was so annoyed at the Drukhari. He's like, I'm going to the Death Watch. You can't stop me. And his whole thing is, I'm a captain of a watch fortress. I will find every Drukhari we come across, and I will purge. And that's his thing.
That's pretty reasonable.
He hates them.
Not an invalid opinion.
If there's any space genocide justified in Warhammer 40K, I'd say it's probably this one.
Look, man,
against this thing.
Usually I'm a Xenos fan. You know,
they can get it.
Although I think,
I was because it was his first time ever meeting them, so he didn't know who they were, but he eventually decided that they're like the antithesis of the greater good. They're the opposite of the Tau. They're just like pure evil, and their whole existence is to cause suffering.
They're the worst are bad.
I think if you'd like one last thing just to really rub the awful in, is that I think there was a passage somewhere, like a Dark Eldar child, I think it was Trueborn, because most of them come from bats. If you have the privilege of coming out of a vagina, you get special places in life.
Yep.
Was like, was watching someone had horrific things done to them, and she felt bad, kind of implying that they constantly have to teach each other to be this horrible, which just makes it worse, in my opinion. Because if you're inherently evil, it's almost like, well, it's just kind of, the way you are.
You're like an ogre from fantasy.
Yeah, it's like you're kind of just, it's just the way you're doing it. It's like, no, they're making the conscious choice to continue being awful.
And they could leave at any time and go live on a craft world instead.
But there is also the harrying of the first, which, do you want to become a Dark Souls 1 NPC from the dungeon? Look at that guy, and he's just sat in there like, I'm going sold, and I don't know what's going on. It's like, that sucks.
The way to, I guess, think of it is like they do that. They will turn into that, but there are other ways. They're difficult, but they're by no means impossible, and they're not even like complicated. Simple things can be difficult. Like, living a life of asceticism and constant discipline. It's not easy. But you don't have to be torturing the person. You don't need to be doing that.
Although more, he goes about killing someone in his book after he's been in the Shrine of Ara and killed his friends. He's gone about killing for like 20 minutes, and he's like, I feel so weak. I need to kill something or I'm going to become parched. And you're like, oh no, this poor guy. He's like, I'm honorable, but I need to kill something every hour of the day.
It is. I mean, it is. I think it is like a drug thing, like addiction too, where it's once they're far enough down the path, it's like, well, you are getting withdrawal. Except in your case, withdrawal is soul death.
I think with that lovely note, thanks, Colin, for an Eldar child that didn't get munched by Vulcan this time. But we had a previous question of the week, which was on our Gotrek and Felix episode. That was number 3. So if anyone's going to check out previous episodes of Gotrek and Felix, because my God, is that a good story. I believe our question was, who was your Warhammer ride or die, which was hashtag ride or die. The first one here is by @Miss Grimmy. It was hashtag ride or die. Fantasy. I'm taking Krokgar. Fighting skills. He's ancient, so I can ask a million lore questions. I want to pet that Carnosaur. Direct speech, in brackets, tism friendly. For 40k. I'm taking Tyros. Similar reasoning. Nothing is going to kill us. He's a direct communicator, isn't loud, and most importantly, one of my hyper focuses is sharks. Anything from the ocean.
Dubs.
Wow.
Yeah, you're pretty real for that.
My only criticism is that I don't think Krokgar is going to be as conversational as you think he is.
It's just
he's a
growls,
lizardman.
right?
What do you know about the outside world? I don't care. What do you know about the Great Plan? That's the Slaan's job.
The next one was by @Mike Loves Magnus Must Fight Colleen. Which is a hell of a name. Hashtag ride or die. Magnus the Red. By going on an adventure with Magnus, I could annoy Hal by existing with him. I could brag to Andy, because I could also be friends with the Khan and Sanguinius. Enrage Colleen by using Commander Magnus in Magic the Gathering and summoning Bretonian Chad from the war. And Eli's relationship with his wife is like Magnus's with Prospero. In brackets, I love Magnus. That's a hell of a
crazy.
That's a hell of a
good on you, Mike. Bretonia's strongest soldier.
Yep.
This is by our resident law criminal, basically the fifth unofficial fifth member, Mr. DJ Beast. Hashtag ride or die. I would go on an adventure with Gelt, and he is
huge,
supreme. He says in brackets, in capitals. Also, I have scammed people a bit and worked at a pyramid scheme company for a bit. I would love to go scamming the old world with him.
Gelt's best buddy.
Wow, admit to literally, so it's law crime. You don't actually have to admit your crimes in law crime.
Oh my gosh.
The next one is by @Jose Coron Dionto 6911. Sorry, man, I butchered that. Hashtag ride or die. The second in command of the Tower of Hoeth. Can't remember his name. It's very elfy. I've been falling to elf simping since reading the High Elves player guide to WFRP 4th edition. Read the Swordmaster special techniques descriptions. They're insane.
Hang on.
Yes.
So your ride or die is a dude who you go, I don't remember his fucking name, but hey, he's aight.
That guy.
Do you mean Bellinair?
Why not choose the first in command?
Why not just
second
choose
in command?
Well, it's been elf simping, my poor boy.
Wow.
And then we had one last one by @Emperor Xandar 666. Hashtag ride or die. I love dark elves in brackets, even though I know I die in brackets. Malekith or Malus Darkblade, because deep down I'm an edgelord.
Good
wow.
man.
Like, I can respect the
You're
Malus
real for that.
Darkblade pick. You know, he's almost there's almost a conscience in that guy. I don't know about Malekith.
The deep down edgelord part, we've all been there. We've all been teenagers, and you know, you won't believe my power. You know, so I respect it.
I forgot that Malekith apparently might have had a brother or a son, but that plot line ends with, and he's a skeleton in his council chambers. Just stuck to a chair.
Jesus Christ.
Family reunions are awkward.
Not as bad as the reunions with his mother.
Nope.
Okay.
That's a different way to say reunion. The next one, thank you everyone who did put in the comment section for the question of the week. The next question of the week, again, put this in the comment section, please. This is, how would you escape Commorragh? Hashtag Home Alone. The scenario literally is your poor boy. Maybe you were a salamander child or something. A nocturne child or something. You were, felt cute, might get captured by the Drukhari later, kind of vibe. And you're in Comorar. How do you get out? Do you charm your way out? Obviously, most inventive, crazy method. You could call in other Warhammer heroes to help you. Whatever you need. That's hashtag Home Alone though. For the question of the week, how would you escape Comorar? I think we have some finishing. Oh, go, sorry, Colin?
My personal advice is to hope that the plot of either a Caiaphas Cain book or the Rogue Trader CRPG are happening. If not, I would just find a tall building and jump.
I would be realistic.
Haldor Drago is just like passing through, and you're like, I'm following that guy.
I'd be realistic. I would most likely be furniture. But I would ask to be furniture that has legs, and then I could sort of creep my way out.
Oh my god!
Sneak my way onto like an emissary's vessel. My little head under the desk, being like, shh,
head under the desk. You'll be the desk.
You guys know the Family Guy, like the Star Wars parody, where they're getting the couch into the Falcon. No, they twist it. Someone running out of camera out there. The couch is their friend.
That's the only way I'm getting
lighting is like one of the like characters from Beauty and the Beast who are like the castle attire. I'm a kettle. Off he goes.
I do believe though that was the end question. We had some final donations that we had for the stream.
We do. Bean.
Oh yes,
$5.
Bean the Corridons.
Yeah. Tortured a Dark Eldar by locking him in a dark room with nothing to do, and would blast him with a fire hose every few days. Yeah. Sounds like what they do.
Angry Homunculus for £2. Did you talk the Drukhari alliance with the Severin Dominate?
I kind of forget the Severin Dominate exists, to be honest with you. Because I think
we had Gilliman, but smaller.
It's mostly, I think it's from it's from one of like the Dark Heresy or one of the other role-playing games. I think it's a small like subsector. I think it's like just it's a few dozen solar systems, so it's small. Small compared to the Imperium.
Small.
That's it's just seceded, and like they haven't done anything about it because one, it is very well armed and equipped. Like it is a proper functioning empire because. Remember, everyone, 42 solar systems is not a small amount of planets and materials. That's a lot. And two, it's, the classic Imperium thing of, they could get any one person if they devote resources away from other fronts and then lose on that front. So because they're not really doing anything either, they're just kind of hanging out like it's pure realpolitik. Like they give the Dark Eldar some slaves. In turn, the Dark Eldar keep them around as a very easy source of slaves.
But look, Huron can't have nothing, huh? We can't have better. We can't have one system.
To be fair, this one is not saying that he wasn't, in the right. That was Space Marines rebelling, and the High Lords probably started getting ancestral flashbacks to the heresy. Some random bozo was like, let him be. I don't care.
Oh wow,
this is crazy.
Colin will wear a green hat in 7 weeks.
He's
again.
back.
Thank you for the 5 euros. I saved it. I want to ride backwards a comically large babam into Comorar, waving a cowboy hat, hoping to unalive all. Wow. That or ride Lilith Hesperax. Choose what's funnier.
Silly.
You do you, man.
Colin will wear a green hat in 7 weeks is a hell of a YouTube channel name.
Donkey Man US.
Ominous.
$5. I've not paid any attention to the stream because the Discord VC goes too hard.
Maybe we'll show Randy at the end.
Hey, give me
maybe we might have like a Discord hangout day.
Hey, you should pay attention to the stream.
Wake up.
Discord for a second.
Wow. Stealthy 47 for $5. The Tyranids are goated for eating a bunch of the Dark Eldar after they thought they could raid them. Who raids the Tyranids? It's not going to go well.
No, they infected themselves with Gene Stealer because why not?
Yeah. Silly Billies. Who was this last one? from Hollow Network.
Hollow Network host. Oh, dude, are you HoloLive, the hit network that's going fucking to the shitter? None of you need to care about that. $5, thank you.
Thank
I don't
you.
know if it is crazy. I cut up sisters models to uplift the Eldar models to prove the superior nature of the Eldar. I feel like I can take that in like 5 different ways, from creative modeling to please seek a therapist. I'm choosing to take it as creative modeling, in which case, good for you, man.
Jeez. Jesus Christ.
Nice.
Is that the last one there, Andy?
That's all. Yeah, that's
Wow.
everything.
Thank you very much, Andy, for helming a big amount of Drukhari lore. Hope everyone listening liked that, appreciated it. Again, Lorecrimes has Discord, there's a merchandise stuff, all that good things. And again, obviously, the question of the week was, how would you escape Commodore? #Home Alone, all that good stuff. I don't know if there's something going up next week, Andy. I don't think we are.
There's nothing planned going up next week because
we might do something.
Something's happening next week.
We'll see.
But we'll see. We might be able to put something together. But there's something interesting going on next week.
Yeah. With that being said, though, love you all. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Doing it again, I know. Like and subscribe, and then catch you guys all in the next one. Peace.
Goodbye. I love you.
Bye.
See everyone.
Until
Take care.
next time.
Bye.